introduction on Innovation Guelph. Innovation Guelph's agile approach to support entrepreneurs and business reflects the evolving needs of our clients. We continue to provide mentorship and business support programs and services to help innovative enterprises start, grow, and thrive. Our business acceleration programs are designed for high potential startups and small to medium-sized enterprises from across Southern Ontario and throughout Canada more widely that are ready to scale. Innovation Guelph serves as a single point of entry to a province and national network of regional innovation centers and business support services. The outcome is an innovative ecosystem that drives economic growth, supports environmental sustainability, and enhances the quality of life for everyone in our region. I'd like to hand the screen over to Salamine to introduce She Starts Africa.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Salamine, and I'm the co-founder of She Starts Africa. So She Starts Africa is a non-for-profit organizations that's mission is to advance women through building their capacities in entrepreneurship and leadership. And so with this new program, Female Founders, we are supporting women who are ready to go to market and ready to grow, to actually take their products and services and innovation to market and make money, I guess. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're thrilled to have partnered for this networking event focused on exporting. And before we introduce our panelists, we would like to recognize that the traditional territory in which we at Innovation Guelph live and work and the presence of the Indigenous peoples from past through to present. As we gather, we are reminded that Guelph is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a city, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work. Today, we acknowledge the Mississaugas of Credit First Nations and the Anishinaabe people on whose traditional territory we are meeting on. I'll now turn the screen over to Carly to introduce our fantastic panelists.
Perfect. Thanks, Catherine. Hello, everyone. I'm Carly from Innovation Guelph. My pleasure to introduce our 4 panelists to you today. So after the introductions, we'll turn it over to each of the panelists in turn to share their thoughts. So with us today, we have Melissa Chung. She is the founder and CEO of krippit. krippit was inspired by the need to create a functional product for high heels after witnessing a damaging fall by her mother after her heels got caught in a grate. Thanks to 3D printing, she's able to scale and patent a universal heel protector that bridges the gap between fashion and function. Melissa received an invitation from the French government to apply for a talent visa after being recognized as an innovative project, which allowed Melissa to expand krippit to Paris, France, and open a second office to access the European market. This move has allowed access to top talent from luxury brands like Chanel and LVMH to help with the design of a new product line and access to European distributions. Today, we also have Ichraf Jarray. They are the founder of Hive 12. Ichraf is an entrepreneur, computer engineer, and community catalyst who's enthusiastic about social innovation and technology. They are part of the US Exchange Alumni, PFP, and Tech Women, founder of Hive 12 Hub, and an initiator of various entrepreneurship and incubation programs for startups. Our third panelist is Abai Schulze. They are the founder of ZAAF. Abai is the founder and creative director of ZAAF, a company that develops high-end designer products celebrating the rich culture and natural wonders of Africa. ZAAF's creativity has been recognized on runways at New York Fashion Week, in Forbes, CNN, Elle, and Vogue, and with awards such as the UNESCO Tremplin Prize for Entrepreneurship, as well as the Creative Industry Award by Africa Women Innovation and Entrepreneurship Forum in Cairo, Egypt. Their unique experiential design and shop boutiques are located in National Harbor, Maryland, and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Our fourth panelist is Olivia Villalta. They are the co-founder and CEO of Gift Better Co. By the age of 24, Olivia had been promoted to operations manager of Eastern and Central Canada for a global staffing firm, directly managing a team of 20 across the country, in addition to a portfolio of over $20 million. Olivia was responsible for program success and strategy, business development, and top stakeholder relationship management. This passion inspired Gift Better Co., which solves problems for the customers that Olivia knows best, the top stakeholders of Canada's leading organizations. Gift Better Co. provides full-service gifting solutions for companies who want to create more meaningful moments. Gift Better Co. makes it effortless for teams to send completely custom value-based gifts that create emotional connections with prospects, clients, or employees. So welcome to our 4 panelists today. So I will now turn it over to our panelists one by one for them to share their experiences and thoughts about exporting. And I'll start with Melissa as our first panelist. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Carly. And thank you for that introduction. Actually, it saves me some time there. So as many of you know, the reason why, why Europe, right? So I'm just going to show you quickly, high heels, trying to protect them walking around cobblestone. So that's why my product here was originally, it was a great idea. And I only discovered that because actually I had the opportunity to actually showcase my product at Canada House in the UK. And that was through another initiative through the Trade Commissions program. And through that experience in London, we received calls actually. And so that actually inspired us to do further research into Europe. We expanded, we started researching the European market, and especially with France, because we were told through that experience that buyers, global buyers for fashion brands would save half their budgets for the Paris Fashion Week. So after showcasing in London, which is usually the first fashion week, we decided, okay, well, how do we get there? So sort of working backwards, we were able to get there through, utilizing several resources. Actually, we started with the TAAF program, which is one of the trade accelerator programs, and that's offered through the Toronto Board of Trades. And we did a very comprehensive market research. I think it was over 100 pages we did. And after discovering that, in fact, that this, getting to the fashion capital of the world would be really important for us to scale and also gain a European traction. We actually we partnered with Business France, and that's how we got our talent passport visa in order to commercialize our products here as well in France. So I would say one of our major goals is we wanted to showcase at one of these, it's called the Who's Next show. And we did this all during, I'm going to say, a very crazy time, which is the pandemic. We decided to take advantage of this opportunity where, the market's a little slower in order to, as a startup, be able to, take our time to understand the market. And I'm going to say still, there are so many challenges that we could not even anticipate. And so, when I spoke to Catherine, I said, how do we, what's the best way to help people here? And I was saying, some of the challenges, I'm just going to quickly describe that we encountered is really, besides language barriers, translation, even digitalization, those were aspects of it that we actually, we're still working through, but at the same time, there's so many great points to it. One of our main goals in France was to be able to see if, the price points. So with the help of local manufacturing, we're able to also produce another product here in France. So as a Canadian company, we also ended up opening up a second branch here in France. So what's neat is our products have been able to increase, we were able to increase our price points by 3 times. So that helped us really increase our profit margins, as well as gain access directly to European market. And because Europe is much more concentrated in terms of shipping, that also helped reduce our costs, because we found that even shipping as a Canadian company, even to Vancouver or anything, was quite a bit. So in that respect, it really helped us. But also mainly, I would say one of my biggest tips is leveraging all the resources in terms of incubation programs, especially in a foreign market, was really important for us to grow. We're actually at Station F, which is, I guess, France's sort of innovation hub. And so being there also helped us draw and attract a talent. And we were able to hire 2 interns, help us especially navigate the French culture. So that's, I would say, in a very high level, some of my experience. And one more aspect that helped us decide whether or not we could get here is, I think, the manufacturing part, which is where we do 3D printing. Because I'm a digital file, it became a lot more seamless. And I would say we didn't have a supply chain issue during the pandemic because we're a digital file. So another part of our aspect of being able to get here to Europe was to explore partnerships with 3D printers. So that was one of our huge aspects for distribution. And I look forward to actually answering, I guess, questions from the audience after. So yeah, thank you, Carly.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Melissa. We'll do the questions after all 4 panelists have had a chance to give their thoughts on exporting. So I'd like to move it along to our second panelist. If Ichraf could unmute and share your thoughts.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today, and thank you, Salmin, especially for her shining and amazing work that she's doing all the time. For me, for my experience with Hive12, I started in 2018, and it was so challenging for me in the beginning, especially that I have like really I can't say like zero financial support, but it was the case. So starting from nothing like was a big challenge, but it took me a lot of time to settle down everything and to work harder so that I take the business to the next level. But by 2019, I was like increasing my my incomes and everything went very well. And suddenly there were like the COVID, and I lost all my clients. So I was obliged to go back to have some extra mission consulting to save my my business actually. And it was so hard on me to see myself from like running my own project to again as kind of salary managing IT team. At the base, I'm a computer engineer, so it was so challenging for me. And at that moment, actually, I thought also about how to find other ways and how to survive. And I say, why not to expand my my activities through my my space? So first we start as a co-working space, but at that moment I started thinking about developing other services, which is incubation programs and consulting. So now in 2023, Hive12, which is my brand, is no longer a simple co-working space, but it's an entrepreneurial hub that contains part of it is the co-working space. We have the incubation program, and we have consulting that we offer for startups, PMI, and other structures. The good part that with the incubation program, we supported a lot of startups in the early stage phases. My first experience in 2020 was with Spark NGO, and it was my first time writing a proposal, like narrative proposal and financial proposal. It was really inspiring and amazing to learn. I really love like learning through my experience and do things by my own. So it was one of my biggest challenges, and I really succeed to have my first grant during that moment. And then I earned that grant, and I had with them my second, my third, and now also I'm having a new one that will be launched in March 2023. So we will support like 12 entrepreneurs in an advanced phase, like with MVP, and we will follow them for like 10 months until the Investor Day. And I'm really excited about this project because it's so big, and it will take Hive12 and it will scale to the next level. But at the same time, I don't want to think that as a structure, as a supportive structure for startups, that I need to look every time for grants or funds. No, I need to find my own stability, financial stability, and the model that will at least make me sustainable and scalable. So that's why I'm thinking about launching my own fund and I'm trying to earn the trust of many, I can say friends or potential business managers, so that we have our being our own like bank and support more startups, and it will be more easy for me to do this. So this is like a resume for me and Ichraf, kind of. And I'm open to any questions from you, all of you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ichraf, for sharing.
Thank you.
Moving on to our third panelist, Abai, if you could please share your thoughts.
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you for having me. And thanks, Salmin. So I guess I've been in this business in 9 years now. So I initially moved back to Ethiopia to actually start this business. And I was in US. So to start with, my goal was at some point to go back to my home country of birth, and then to start a business. So after I finished my college degrees, and I was going to just work a couple of years and then go back to business school so they can teach me how to start a business in Africa. But my plan quickly changed after just working in development entrepreneurship in Washington, D.C. So when I started the business, I partnered with somebody who's knowledgeable of the manufacturing sector in Ethiopia. So that lasted about a year, and then I started my own manufacturing because I knew to start with, I would always wanted to focus on exporting to the international market. And so in order to do that, I had to kind of start from the scratch of creating certain standards, having a full value chain of the process that maybe other manufacturing company wasn't willing to risk that, or it was more of a foreign concept for them to do luxury made in Africa type of thing. And so that was kind of the initial risk of like me doing the whole thing of after just kind of a year of experience with somebody who's doing the manufacturing process. And then the next thing is distribution after you do the whole designing and stuff like that. So that was also a major learning curve. Initially, I was going to a lot of trade shows, showcasing my designs that I was very proud of. And then I quickly to find out that these different trade shows I would, in Paris and New York and stuff like that, they needed high volume and very small margin. And so my products were handmade, and exporting from Ethiopia to Europe or US, it was sometimes, especially back 9 years ago, was if you're giving them 3 months, it might take 6 months, 9 months. There's just a lot of unknown, internet shutdown, or the network doesn't, it's just everything keeps postponing. And so the terms and conditions were not to my favor, given with the scale that I'm working with. And so I had to kind of reassess how this distribution going to work if I wanted for export market. And so initially for the cash flow business, I had to kind of focus on local market, had my own store there. And then we also doing wholesale for corporate companies there. And then I started doing a lot of pop-ups in US and Singapore and in also even other parts of Africa. And I quickly found out that people love our products and there's a market for it. People have to feel in touch, but it was harder to push online store just because of the price point is high. And also, back then, things being shipped from Ethiopia is kind of like scary thing. And so a lot of Europeans or Americans didn't trust it that the product will get to them. And so pop-ups allowed me to know that when people saw it, felt it, touched it, they were completely sold on it. And so then the next phase of like, okay, what's my other options to expand, since I can't produce 10,000 pieces a month of bags for, let's say, Macy's that I initially talked to. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to take the risk of opening my own brick and mortar store. so I can control of like how much I can, sell and stuff like that. And so first store I opened was in Washington, D.C. And then I quickly learned that when people said location, location, location 3 times, they really meant it. And so I chose based on the space, things I imagined, like doing cultural experiences and stuff like that. So I was a terrible location. And so, but the current location that I'm in, they found me and they said, to try it out for a few months. If I don't like it, I can shut down. So I did. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions I made by doing that. And so now we have a great business model that's working, and now how to duplicate that in different parts of the US and possibly in Africa and Europe as well. And then now we have online store, and we also distribute in small boutiques and hotels and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my story.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Abai. Great words there. And our 4th panelist would be Olivia.
Hi, everyone. It's been great hearing all the other founders' stories. So my name is Olivia. I'm co-founder of Gift Better Co. Like Carly mentioned, we're a high-volume custom corporate gifting company, and we give back with every gift that we send. So essentially, the idea is to marry corporate social responsibility and corporate gifting to give companies opportunity to really put action behind their values and showcase their values in a physical way to either their customers, their prospects, or their employees. So we, in terms of kind of an export journey, when I was talking to Carly, I said, it's really been trial by fire. It has, I have learned a lot by doing and encountering problems and having to very quickly try and figure them out. So I don't think you will know everything before you start exporting by any means, but I can share some of the stuff that I learned along my journey. So I would say the biggest kind of catalyst in terms of having to figure things out very quickly, it was just my co-founder and myself. We had no employees at the time. We've been around for 3 years, so this was probably about 1.5 years ago. It was just over a year into COVID. We had an RFP process that we were applying for. It was the first RFP. We thought, we have never gone through this process. There's no way we're going to get it. We're way too small of a company. It was for 10,000 gifts for the University of Ottawa for their convocation, since they had gone digital for the pandemic. And we said, let's just try the RFP process just to see how it is, so that when we're actually ready for it, we'll be able to reapply for a different RFP. So every stage in the RFP process, they kept saying, okay, you've made it to the next phase. You made it to the next phase, and we couldn't figure out how we kept making it to the next phase. But we're kind of just waiting to get disqualified at any point. And finally, at the very end, they said, okay, we've awarded this project to you. It was almost a $500,000 project. So we had to very quickly figure out how to ship to probably 160 different countries, and figure out a lot of different requirements. So the tricky thing about our business is that we're not the type of business where we have one product, that's our own product, and that's the only thing that we sell and the only thing that we need to figure out how to export. Because we're custom, every single project, we're working with different vendors, different suppliers, different items with different ingredient lists, and we're shipping to different countries. So that's been a kind of crash course in having to figure out which countries have limitations on certain ingredients. And if we're trying to ship into Spain, they might consider an essential oil a pharmaceutical product, whereas shipping that anywhere else is totally fine. Or we can only ship dark chocolate. You can't ship milk chocolate because it has milk ingredients in it. So every country having different requirements has been something that we've been able to learn and are still learning. One thing that I found helpful is that when we first started that really big exporting project, we partnered with just one shipping provider, and because it's high volume, we had a specific account manager, and the account managers at those shipping companies tend to be very helpful in terms of if they don't know the answer, they can help you find the answer. So either working with Canada Post, or we have an account manager at DHL, being able to have that one point person so you're not constantly calling their general helpline or the government to try and figure these things out. That's been helpful to get answers a lot faster. We also had to go through the process of getting registered for Canadian Food and Health Inspection Agency, figuring out, okay, when we are chosen for an audit, what do we have to have ready? I suggest having lot codes, expiry dates for everything that you have coming in and out, because if ever a supplier that you're working with has some sort of issue, you need to be able to track when you had that batch code in your warehouse, who it went to, and that's who those inspections, that's kind of what those inspections are there for, to really make sure that you're compliant on those pieces. And there's a lot of resources on the Government of Canada website to help with that. I would say in terms of understanding exporting as a whole, if you go on the Trade Commissioner's website, there are step-by-step of all the things that you should consider. So that's really helpful. I can drop the link in the chat in a minute. And there's also grants that you can apply for that I think people have talked about for exporting. We haven't actually gone through those grants yet, but I will send a link in the chat as well of ones that we've looked into. There are travel grants for if you're exploring a new market. So there's one, if you check out MyTax, MITACS, they have travel grants of up to $5,000. There are, I'm trying to think of which other ones, but that tends to be really helpful. You have to be associated with an incubator here and then a landing incubator in the market that you're exploring. But some incubators can be fairly flexible in being open to saying that they're kind of your landing incubator. So definitely suggest that. And we've recently been part of a program that is between the Trade Commissioner, Government of Canada, and the Southern California region to explore if that is a good place for us to start in terms of selling into. So they support with connecting you with investors in the SoCal region, as well as with potential clients. And something that I've learned through that program is really understanding which market you're deciding to go into first. So not only what country do you want to export into, but what region within that country. Because if we are selling custom gifts into LA versus even San Francisco versus New York, they really are all quite different. So to give you an example, we realized, and I really suggest doing a lot of customer discovery and messaging 100 people on LinkedIn and begging them for 20 minutes of their time to ask them questions. But having calls so far with people in that region, it seems like it could be a completely different ICP or ideal customer profile, going after agencies, going after more of the entertainment industry. Whereas in San Francisco, you're probably going to go more after tech companies. That's actually a completely different person that you're selling into. So understanding who your customer profile is in the new market that you're selling into, I think is really important, because it can be dangerous to assume that what is working here will work the same way when you start exporting internationally. So something very, very important to keep in mind. So I'll drop those links that I mentioned into the chat, and obviously happy to answer any questions during the Q&A period.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Olivia. All four of our panelists have shared a lot of great tips and resources so far. So thank you everyone for your thoughts on exporting. Turning it over to you, Catherine.
Okay, wonderful. So if anyone has a question to lead us off, we've had a lot of really useful information come up already. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, or if you're more comfortable, toss it in the chat box and we will read it out.
Hi, everyone. Maybe I could ask the first question. Thank you. I wanted to know, especially for some of you are exporting to Africa and some are using Africa as the import, let's say, location. And I think with a lot of the entrepreneurs we work with, it's really harder for African businesses to export. In a lot of cases, that's the only way for them to grow at the same time, because there's lack of availability of funding and all of those problems. So finding trade partners and to be able to export is the only way up to grow. So I wanted to know, like, your opinions to the panelists, your opinions about that, your personal experience. What can you tell these entrepreneurs? Because some of them are here actually. Yeah. Whoever wants to jump in. I don't have a.
I guess I can chime in a little bit. You know, even as a Canadian company, because I'm in fashion tech, because the fashion industry it's not very big here. Just going, echoing also Olivia, going and discovering, testing out your customers really important. So even taking now that there's COVID's over, maybe even I know that I had in France here, they have a group where like I had met, it was I think it was Africa, it was like a program for African startups. They could travel like around Europe, and it was sort of like a commission program also that was curated. And I know when I had spoken about my experience, and one of the girls ended up coming here to France too. We're friends now, and she just said that, and she also makes I would say like sort of luxury customized bags. For her biggest thing was, yeah, you have to sometimes just go out there and just see if the numbers are accurate and really see what type of resources you can leverage immediately off the community. And I think that's really important, but also because she took part in a program that was that helped with the figuring out where to live, and all sort of that budgeting part really helped her focus on figuring out the customer discovery process in when she's traveling. So I don't know if that helps, but
Thank you for sharing that.
Well, one thing is that in your own respective country, they have the government have different programs where if they're trying to push a certain industry, in my case in Ethiopia was leather industry that was trying to push for international market, because initially it was just doing exporting raw hides to other parts of Europe and Italy and China and so forth, where they were producing high-end leather goods. So there was a shift of actually shipping value-added goods from Ethiopia to the global market. And so in those programs is where they would support designers or manufacturers to attend these different trade shows in Europe. And so I think it's good to tap into what's happening and just kind of get your company registered and stuff like that to take advantage of those.
Okay, wonderful. Great answers. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? If not, I have one question that I would like to pose to all four of our panelists. If you could give one piece of advice to someone that's considering exporting but has not yet transitioned into that space, what would your top piece of advice be?
I would say before pursuing anyone, have all of the essential questions prepared and like be ready. So once you start something, if you linger, you miss your opportunity. So to kind of know like what are your capacity every month and how long does it take and all these like random or even just do you use DHL and what box measurement, all those details, it might take you, a month in to actually find out once they start asking these questions. So kind of know exactly what they're going to ask. So once you start a conversation, it's flowy and they know that you're professional and eager to actually work with them. People are lazy, so they like everything laid out already. So
I completely agree with that. I would also add that spending the time to network is very, very critical because I think a lot of the things that I spent a lot of time struggling through, I probably could have had answers a lot quicker. So whether that be looking for accelerator programs, we were part of one through Innovation Guelph, we were part of one through the University of Ottawa, and that opened up a lot of doors to access to mentors who have even bigger networks, and really learning the art of not being scared to ask something. So we put out asks to people all the time of, hey, do you happen to know anyone in your network that knows about this? Through the SoCal accelerator program we're in right now, yesterday someone was on a call that is an absolute expert in operations and supply chain and exporting and all this stuff. So I know that now within my network, if we do sell into SoCal region, I can go directly to that person and say, hey, can I have half an hour of your time to ask some questions? And I really think building that network of people as much as you can, even though it is very time consuming and uncomfortable sometimes, I think people are inherently good and want to help. So kind of getting through that barrier of being shy to ask, that took me and my co-founder a little while to do, but now that we have, it's been incredibly helpful.
I just want to add something on Olivia, because I totally agree with her. The network is the most, like, the first weapon for any like entrepreneur or project initiator, because I'm all the time like advising my startup or anyone who wants to launch a business is to be well surrounded by the right and the good people, because more you have people around you who have like experience, who have been through challenges, I don't know, problems, failure, anything. So this would be like really a plus for you as an entrepreneur to know more and to learn through their experience. And also, it will facilitate for you to integrate to any kind of market, whether national or international. It's good to build that strong relationship also based on trust, because people, trustful people, like, it's a good thing and it's so valuable. So they will like help you even like without anything in back, without waiting for anything, just because they see that passion and they want to support you and help you.
Completely agree. Something to add on to that, we recently formed what we call a ghost board, and that was part of an accelerator program through the University of Ottawa that they had helped us form a couple of years back, but we formed one on our own now, and that's been super helpful in terms of being very self-aware of what our gaps are between myself and my co-founder, and building a kind of board of advisors of 4 people. And it allows us to have access to very smart people, and like you mentioned, choosing the right people for that, but also to hold us accountable. We meet with them every second month. We prepare a deck in advance of like, here are the business updates, these are the challenges, and this is my ask of you of what we need your support in. And if exporting is a big challenge, trying to maybe find someone or finance or marketing, whatever that is, but to build a board of people that are excited to help, and putting a bit of structure behind that has been really helpful for us.
I was just going to add, in terms of networking there, you know what, leveraging even some of the trade, especially, you know, being in contact with your local trade commissioners and asking them to give the introductions to suppliers or to network is really, really important, because they have that email address that really helps get, you know, the attention of someone who you're trying to get to. So I mean, I would say that's one of my biggest advice. I had to do that when I first got to France, especially after one of the trade commission come by our booth at one of the trade shows, and she's like, "Oh, you're Canadian," and it was great. And from there, you know, she's on my WhatsApp basically. So when Mary Ning was looking for a photo up, she could just WhatsApp me and say, "Hey, Melissa, you know, can we get some pictures?" And it's like having that type of a tight relationship, especially when you're in a foreign market, is really important, because when I needed, you know, tickets to a fashion week event, you know, there, you know, Caroline was like, "There you go." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So, I mean, it's that type of network that you really want to curate, especially in a foreign market. So.
Also, I want to add something regarding this. I advise also that if anyone wants to expand worldwide, when he chooses a spot, he needs to know local people there, because they will facilitate for you the integration, and they will advise you to do this, to go like this, I don't know, to and give you contact and recommendation face to face. It's something like really, for example, for me, they come to me and they ask me for someone. I don't just give them number or email. No, I hit up the phone and I call that person and they tell him, this entrepreneur will come to you and he needs this and this. Please help him or please support him. So this is a way to push. So that's why you need again and again to be well surrounded with the right people who will boost you and push you forward.
Absolutely, just to echo that, I've learned so much from my I'm going to say my interns here, you know, from the French interns, because they're the ones telling me culturally, "Oh no, this you don't do, this you do," and honestly, this doesn't come with it. It has nothing to do with experience, or it just comes with, it's a different culture. So, and different definitions, translations, and so forth. So those are very much like local. Yeah, you need to know your local market very much and just be very open-minded to what you think is a norm and what might not be the norm here. So to your export market.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the fantastic information in the panel and excellent Q&A. We ran a little bit over time, but I think all of that information was really worthwhile and so important for anyone that's looking into exporting or in the early stages. So I'd like to just thank our 4 panelists. We will be moving on to our breakout room, so the networking portion. I'd like to remind everyone to take a moment, if you could just check your name. If it is not your current name, this has just happened with the way we were all signing in, please feel free to update that before we move into the breakout rooms. We will be in the breakout rooms. We'll have 2. We'll assign you into these with 4 or 5 people in each room for about 6 minutes. We welcome you to add in your contact details into the chat box, LinkedIn, email, socials, whatever you prefer, so that you can actually connect with people after this as well. And we are giving you a tentative topic. So where are you currently or planning on exporting to sort of launch the conversation? But please take this conversation wherever it might move to. And there was one question we were not able to answer yet. So if you would like to instead discuss this, what if you're an introvert who wants to launch a business? How would you go about doing that? Could also be your discussion for this breakout room. So Sarah's going to move you into those right now. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're just wrapped up now. So it's been a joy to partner with She Starts Africa and to hear from our 4 wonderful panelists on their exporting journeys and tips and tricks along the way. Thank you to everyone that joined us today. And we hope that you've been able to gain some knowledge and hopefully build out some networking opportunities as well. We do have this session recorded and we will post it on YouTube in the hopefully next week, but in the coming weeks. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a fantastic day.